"Get that trashy purple fence out of here, or I'll fine you every single day." Those were the first words my HOA president ever said to me, and 3 weeks later, she had my face pinned to the community board with the words, "Non-compliant resident." People whispered when I walked my dog. My mailbox got vandalized twice, and all of it started with a few flowers I planted in front of my house. My name's Laura Mitchell, and I thought moving into Willow Creek Estates would be the fresh start I needed. The streets were quiet, the lawns were perfect, and every driveway had the same exact shade of beige mailbox. It felt safe, too safe, maybe. I work from home as a designer, so I figured a peaceful neighborhood would be good for my nerves. I didn't realize I was walking straight into a suburban dictatorship. The first week, I planted a line of bougainvillea, bright purple, my late mom's favorite. I was still kneeling in the dirt when a shadow fell over me. "That color isn't approved," said Karen Douglas, the HOA president. She wore a visor, pearls, and that kind of smile that's really a warning. I laughed, thought she was joking. She wasn't. 2 days later, I found an official notice taped to my door. Violation of Color Regulation 4B. A $250 fine and a demand to repaint or remove the plants within 48 hours. I tried to reason with her. I filled out a review request form and even attached a photo of the flowers. The HOA rejected it for being the wrong format. When I called, Karen said, "Rules are rules, Laura. We can't make exceptions or the neighborhood falls apart." Her tone had that sugar-coated threat only someone who's enjoyed power too long can master. I paid the fine mostly to end the headache, but that was just blood in the water. From that day, she watched me like a hawk. Every week, I'd find her slow driving past my house in her golf cart, clipboard in hand. One morning, she measured my lawn with a ruler. Another day, she crouched to photograph a single dandelion. When I put up Christmas lights, nothing fancy, just a small string around the porch, she cited me again for decorating before the authorized date. I posted about it in the HOA Facebook group, thinking maybe someone would back me up. Instead, Karen screenshotted my post and wrote, "Some residents think they're above community standards." The next morning, 3 neighbors unfriended me. One woman crossed the street to avoid me during her jog. That's when I realized I wasn't living in a community. I was living in her kingdom. At first, I tried to keep my head down. I mowed twice a week, repainted the trim, even hid my trash bins behind a lattice screen. But it didn't matter. New violations kept coming. Mailbox tilt 1.5 degrees, unauthorized garden ornament. I stopped sleeping well. Every knock on the door made my stomach clench. I started to wonder if I was the problem. Maybe I'd been careless. Maybe I really didn't belong in a place like this. That thought stuck with me, whispering whenever I looked at the purple flowers that had started all this. I actually considered selling the house, just leaving. Then one evening, as I sat on my porch staring at another notice taped to my door, Jeff Carter, my elderly next-door neighbor, shuffled over. "You're not the first, you know," he said quietly. Jeff had lived here 20 years. He'd been fined for installing a security camera, apparently disruptive to the aesthetic. He handed me an envelope, thin and creased. Inside were printed emails between Karen and the HOA treasurer. The subject line read, "Re-monthly revenue from fines." In one message, Karen wrote, "Target new homeowners first, they're less likely to appeal." My hands shook as I read it. It wasn't about rules, it was about money. Jeff told me he'd saved those emails after overhearing Karen bragging that the fines cover my Christmas bonus. He was too scared to confront her alone. "But you," he said, "you've got fire." He smiled, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something other than fear, anger, sharp and alive. We started digging. Jeff knew who handled the HOA's bookkeeping. I filed a request under the state's Community Association Transparency Law. They ignored it. So Jeff accidentally left his phone recording during a neighborhood meeting. Karen's voice came through clear as glass. "We hit our fine quota early this quarter. Good work, everyone." I sent everything, emails, audio copies of violation letters, to the Todd County Department of Community Management. Then I waited. 2 days later, Karen struck back. She taped a bright red notice to my garage. Disciplinary hearing, potential suspension of voting rights and community access. She was trying to make an example out of me. The hearing was set for Friday evening in the clubhouse. I barely ate that week. Every time I rehearsed what I'd say, I imagined her smirk, the way she'd twist my words. By Thursday night, I almost called it off. Maybe it wasn't worth the stress. Maybe I should just pay whatever she wanted and disappear. I sat in the dark living room, staring at the purple flowers through the window, thinking of my mom. She used to say, "If you let a bully set the rules, you'll spend your life asking permission to breathe." That line kept echoing. I wasn't going to ask anymore. Friday came. The clubhouse was packed. Neighbors, board members, even a couple of reporters from the local paper. Karen sat at the front table in her red blazer, tapping her pen. "Ms. Mitchell," she began, "your repeated violations show a pattern of disregard for our community's standards." I stood up, heart pounding so hard I felt it in my throat. "If by community standards you mean your personal bank account, then yeah, I've disregarded it." A murmur rippled through the room. Karen's smile tightened. "Excuse me," she hissed. I reached into my bag and pulled out a flash drive. Jeff helped set up the projector. The first slide appeared an email with Karen's name subject line. "Fine income goals." Gasps filled the room. Then came the audio clip, her voice bragging about the quota. People looked at one another, whispering. Someone shouted, "Is this real?" I nodded. Real enough that the county investigator might want to weigh in. Right on cue, the door opened and a man in a gray suit walked in, flashing a badge. "Mrs. Douglas," he said, "I'm with the Department of Community Management. We need to speak with you regarding misappropriation of HOA funds." You could have heard a pin drop. Karen's face drained of color. She stammered something about misunderstandings and out-of-context recordings, but the agent had documents in hand, copies of the same emails I'd sent days earlier. 2 deputies followed him inside. She tried to leave, but one of them blocked her path. The room buzzed with whispers, phones recording. Jeff sat in the back, smiling like Christmas had come early. They escorted her out while she kept muttering, "You'll regret this, Laura. You'll regret this." But her voice was small now, swallowed by the sound of shutters clicking and neighbors talking over her. When the door shut, I finally exhaled. My legs felt weak. I didn't say a word. There was nothing left to say. A week later, an interim board was elected. Jeff took the seat as acting president until the investigation wrapped up. I didn't attend the meeting. I stayed home watching the sunset spill over those same bougainvillea. The red notice had faded under the sun, curling at the edges. I pulled it down, crumpled it in my hand, and tossed it in the trash. People have asked if I ever got an apology or if I feel vindicated. Truth is, I don't need either. I just wanted peace, and sometimes peace doesn't come from keeping quiet. Sometimes it comes from standing so loud the silence can't swallow you. Lesson? Never hand your power to someone who hides behind rules, because once you do, they'll start charging you to get it back.